What's going on, everybody? Jacko Trades in the building, doing it all for every last one of you from the H-Town. You know what's going down. We're back. Seems like it has been forever for the Philadelphia Eagles playing in the football game, but hey, you know what? We're back this week. We got the Giants this week. It's about to be crazy. We obviously talked about the keys that need to happen, the things that need to take place in order for us to actually have a better and a successful second half of the season. We talked about Carson Wentz needing to get better, Doug Peterson needed to get better. We also talked about Jim Swartz needing to get better in little ways. I think Jim Swartz has kind of revamped his job or his position as the defensive coordinator. Now, I know that's not the most popular opinion out there amongst us Philadelphia Eagle fans, but hear me out. Our defense has been getting to the quarterback. We all know that's what Jim Swartz thing is about. I personally think that some of the players that we've been acquiring through the draft, some of the players we've been getting through the draft has not matched up with Jim Swartz's scheme. But there's little fine-tuned things that I believe Jim Swartz needs to do in order for us to actually have a better defense in the second half. With the wide nine kind of a look on the defensive line and he rotates, we're great there. Don't change anything with that. But when we blitz, do some blitzes that are actually more disguised. We need to blitz more often to get these players used to actually bringing pressure more than just the D line. Now, Jim Swartz has just talked to the media. I haven't watched it yet because I wanted to watch it with every last one of you. So without further ado, let's get to this reaction video with Jim Swartz. Let's see what he got to say.
Get started with Nick and then Ruben. Hi, Jim. Brandon Graham is having, at least statistically, his best
Jim always
season,
looked like he wanted to cut somebody's head off.
At age 32. Have you seen anything like that before? And do you think he is? I mean, obviously, you've said in the past that you really can't measure guys by statistics sometimes. Is he having a great season or his best season? And how much of that
the answer is yes.
Your experience?
Yeah, I think throughout the NFL, you've seen a lot of situations where you've seen older pass rushers continue to be effective. I think you can look at a lot of defensive ends and you see that a lot. As far as having his best season, I don't know if I really judge it that way. I didn't really follow him a ton before we got here 4 or 5 years ago, and we always judge our D-line play not as individual statistics but as a group, and I think that he has made an impact on that group, not just in the pass rush game, which everybody seems to focus on, but in the run game also. Has made some big tackles in the run game, created some pressures, and is able to finish with sacks and also some turnovers, which have been huge for us. Like, that last week of, our offensive turned the ball over, we went back on the field on a short field, and, a success there is probably giving up a field goal, but not only, not allowed
bro,
field
what is Jim
goal,
talking about, bro?
Be able to get the ball out. So,
bro, just answer the simple
has
question.
had an outstanding year. We'll just wait till the end of the year before we compare it to any other season. We still got a long way to go.
Now, let me tell y'all something. That was a long way of saying, you know what? We don't really like to acknowledge the stars around here. This is a theory that I have. Y'all can check me on this if it ain't right. I think the coaching staff may have a bit of a problem with individuals like being stars. We obviously see the OBJs out there. We've seen back in the day, the Des Bryants out there. We've seen some of the superstars get all this recognition. And we also see the issues with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Who's better without one another? Who will rise to the occasion when they don't have one another? Well, we're seeing that one has a little bit of the upper hand and one just kind of looks, you know what I mean. Now, I think the Eagles don't want to have a situation like that, which is why I believe they always harp on. And guess what? It is a team game. But this is what makes me so frustrated with when it comes to people like Travis Fulgham. He's obviously the best player on the team, but you want to acknowledge the fact that it's the whole wide receiver core, when that's not true. It's Travis Fulgham and the connection that he has with Carson Wentz. Acknowledge the individual play at the same time, because it makes people want to play for you. So just say Brandon Graham, man, he's the ish right now. He's the man. Just give a man his credit when it's due, brother. That's all I'm asking.
Ruben and then Martin.
Hey Jim, I wanted to ask you about Michael Jacko, what you saw from him in that Dallas game for a kid who hadn't played before. Got a lot of work in that game. Still in the practice squad, obviously, but where might he fit in moving forward if he can get on the 53?
Yeah, that's the way this league has gone this year. You have that taxi squad of the practice squad, and
whether it's
COVID related or injury related, you get a lot of those guys that are Sunday morning call-ups or Saturday call-ups, and it just shows, how much work they need to put in preparation-wise, because they could get called up in any second, and Cravon wasn't able to play, and MJ stepped in to play, and we didn't anticipate
I know who you're talking about.
Slay got nicked up, and he had to go in. And I think probably the best way to put it is you really didn't notice he was out there. And if you're a corner, that's it's not necessarily a bad thing. He probably, like his one play back, probably should have had an interception on one play.
Corners beg to differ,
but he was there when the team needed him.
And he did play well.
That's
true.
Look,
I'm sorry for pausing it, but one of the things Jim Swartz did say was that you didn't really notice him out there. And that is actually really true, which means he wasn't a Ronald Darby. Ronald Darby's out there. Why? Because you always see him. Isn't he, when you think about Ronald Darby, isn't he always like doing something like this every time they take a snapshot of this man? He's always like this, and there's always someone else who's literally over him, just with nuts and face catching the ball over him. So at least he's correct on that.
In the ballpark, if he was going to play, but we've had a lot of guys step up that way this year and make plays for us, and we're going to need to continue over the next half of the season.
Then Martin and then Jeff.
Hi Jim. We obviously didn't get a chance to talk to you after the Dallas game, but I wanted to ask you about the game TJ Edwards had. The way he stepped up, made some huge plays.
The main man.
How important was that for you guys, and where do you see him as far as going forward and everything with this play?
Yeah, I thought he was playing well before he got injured. I thought he was playing really well against San Francisco on that Sunday night game that he was playing before he hurt his hamstring. He's a strong player. He can fill those interior gaps. He's probably our best linebacker.
He is. There's no probably about it.
Line of scrimmage and taking on guards and tackles and taking offensive linemen off of double teams and things like that. And he's a reliable tackler. Made a big play when it counted. The way we run that blitz is we generally have 3 guys and they should have 2 blockers for him. They chose not to block him, and they blocked Rodney instead, and he was able to not just get the sack but be able to get the strip, and we were able to get the score off of it. And that game was in the balance right there. They're down less than a touchdown. They're driving into our territory. Not only we come up with a stop, again, a success.
Yeah, we saw the play, bro.
Getting a sack and forcing a field goal range. But not only to get the sack, but get the strip, and we got fortunate with the bounce and picked the ball up and go score, and that really just changed it. It sealed the game at that point, made it a 2-score game, and we were going to have to really screw something up to lose that game at that point.
Jeff and then John.
Jim, Lee Gary obviously is injured now and didn't play. There was never really a play that he got hurt on, and at least that we could tell that he was removed from the game. So I'm wondering how much of the injury had been bothering him prior to you guys deciding to finally shut him down. Was that something that...
Listen, it don't matter what kind of injury was bothering him. The man shouldn't have been on the field to begin with. Now, I don't think Nathan Gary's that injured, but I can't say. I ain't in the locker room right now. But Jim Swartz, you know what it is. I think Jimmy told him, hey, listen, you got to sit your butt down. We gonna protect you because you Howie Roseman's boy. So you got injured, right? You stubbed your toe. Whatever that may be, we're going to put you on a COVID list. Either way, this is getting him off the field, and he needs to stay off the field.
Been affecting him for weeks, or can you give a little more information on that, please?
Yeah, I really can't. That's really not my realm to talk about injuries. That's a question for either Coach Peterson or for Nate himself.
He set him down.
There's been a lot of guys play with a lot of different things that nick them up, and they're still able to go play. Some things, get where you can't play, and we just deal with all those things as they come up.
Go ahead, John, and then Zach.
Hey, Jim. A little off the beaten path here, but you mentioned over the weekend to Peter King, that Alex Trebek helped train you as a football coach. Was that? And obviously, people upset losing a legend like that, but was that tongue-in-cheek, or were you serious about that?
No, I mean, obviously, I didn't think he was training me as a football coach when it was going on. I was a sophomore and junior in college. I didn't even know I was going to go into coaching. We were just playing for fun, and it was an ultra-competitive environment. But, you look back and you see the lessons learned from stuff like that.
Hey, shouts out to Alex Trebek. He prays with his family. We all grew up knowing who Alex Trebek was. I mean, at least if you're my age, if you're at least in like 25 and up, I mean, you grew up knowing who he was, especially if you ain't had no cable. I hated staying home from school sometimes because I didn't grow up with cable a lot of the time. Sometimes we had to steal that joint. I'm just saying. Alex Trebek was the Jeopardy man. We all knew who he was. At some point in time, we've all acted like we were on Jeopardy before. Don't act like you wasn't on Jeopardy before. Let's talk some Eagles, though.
The carryovers to football. It's not just getting the right answer. It's getting the right answer quicker than everybody else. I've always talked to football players about this. It's like, hey, what's 2 + 2? 4. And somebody else says 2 + 2, and they go, 4. Well, both of them got the right answer, but the other one, the ball was snapped and the running back just ran right past you. So, there's that. And, when you're a defensive coach in particular, you're reacting when you make your play calls. You guys see, I very rarely have a play sheet or a call. I might have some notes written down on one small page, but that's about it. And the reason is you have to react to what personnel group you're getting, the down and distance, all those different things. You can't pick a play the way offensive coaches do. So I think that just looking back, that had a lot to do. And then just Alex Trebek in general, his command over the game, I thought it was always interesting. You never knew if he really knew the answer or it was just he sold it because it was written on his card. Oh, no, Henry VIII, not Henry VI, like that kind of thing. Just having command.
Bro, what is Jim Swartz talking about, bro?
The other thing, he did it for so long.
This is why it's hard watching Jim Swartz interviews.
And it didn't happen by mistake. He was such a professional. He never flubbed a word. He never flubbed a syntax. So you knew that every question he had read probably 20 times. And that's, it's a lot of questions on the board. He prepared himself, and it showed in his performance. So I think there's some carryovers. Practice is important.
Dang, he really was impacted by Alex Trebek. Shouts out to Alex Trebek, man. He was the dude, though. He was the dude.
Competitiveness is important. Those are lessons that I learned from, just watching a silly game show on TV.
Fred, Zach, and then Dave.
Hey, Jim, you've had this situation a few times in the past few years where you play a team in such a confined period. In these situations, do you find that you need to alter the scheme at all, or I guess not the scheme, the game plan, or is the familiarity such that you just go out there and play?
Yeah, I think there is that. I mean, that's generally a short week kind of thing. Hey, you are what you are, they are what they are. We'll have a little bit of wrinkles, and I'm sure they'll have some wrinkles off of some of the stuff. Both teams will, try to play to some of the things that they were successful and see if the other team made the adjustments to shore and that kind of stuff. Hopefully you won't see us give up any 90-yard runs to quarterbacks this week. Test us on that, so we have to be up to that challenge. Division opponents generally know each other, so it's not a huge thing playing, on a short span, only 2 games in between. I think a lot of that stuff goes out the window. They're familiar with us. We're familiar with them. It's going to come down to, who plays with the most spirit, who plays with the most toughness, who executes the best, and who plays the best fundamentals. Those things will probably have a lot more to do with a win or, a good performance than coming up with a new wrinkle or something the team hasn't seen or expected.
Now check this out. I actually think that we're pretty much going to win this game against the New York Giants, but I think it's not going to be as close as a lot of people think it's going to be. I think it's going to be, honestly, I think it's going to be a blowout. And I'm not saying the Eagles are going to get blown out, and I'm not saying the Giants. I'm saying either team could honestly get blown out. Anyway, that's the next video.
Dave and then Paul.
Jim, I wanted to follow up on TJ Edwards. I think one of the big knocks on him, I guess, early in his career has been the lack of great athleticism. How do you view him? Is he a limited player because of that, or could he be a three-down type of linebacker?
I'll let you guys ask him that question. That's a tough question to ask somebody.
That point just says straight up.
He's a very productive player at Wisconsin. Had a lot of production there and things like that. He didn't run a great 40 time. I don't know that I've ever, the times that he played fairly sparingly as a rookie, but he was out there, and he's been when he's been healthy this year, he's been a contributor for this year. I don't know that I've ever had to limit my calls with him in the game. And I've had some other guys that way. When I was in Buffalo, we had a very similar guy named Preston Brown, who we drafted in 3rd or 4th round, a very productive player at Louisville, and just didn't run a good 40 time. But he didn't play slow. He led to the NFL in tackles a couple years, and he went out there as a rookie, and
Jim Swartz knows how to protect his people. He knows how to protect his players, man.
And that's the way I feel about TJ. Everything we've asked him to do, he's been able to do, and there's a difference between a guy that tests well and a guy that plays football well. And I think that TJ is a guy that plays football well. Our scouts really did a great job with him, getting him as a free agent. A lot of our scouts had him marked as one of their, red star players, which means, that's one of their favorite players in the draft.
Hey,
we made a strong effort to get him after draft. I'm very thankful for that, to be able to get a guy like that without having to spend a draft pick. It was a great addition for us.
Paul and then Tim.
Good answer,
Jim, you've given up more rushing yards than you have in the past, as you pointed out before the Dallas.
This is one of the things that needs to change.
It hasn't been a case of teams methodically driving down the field on you. Held running backs, I think, to 3.3 yards per carry. Most of it's been misdirection plays or quarterback runs, but it's still been 40% of the other team's rushing yards. How do you address that during the bye week? How have you addressed it?
What have you been working on?
We actually address it after every series. After every series, after the half, after the game, weekly, bye week, you name it. Bye week was more of a study thing. We practiced on Wednesday. We practiced on Wednesday, but didn't practice. The rest of the time was more evaluation and film study and things like that. All those plays were a little bit different. Like that the long run we gave up to the quarterback, we misfit that. Other ones have been a physical mistake.
Let me tell y'all what happened on that one run. Now, it was a zone read option, right? I don't know what scheme that they were supposed to have, but whenever there's a zone read option or option of any sort, you have to have what we used to call dive quarterback pitch, right? In this case, we see them in the shotgun. So we see Daniel Jones is reading Brandon Graham, who obviously, I'm assuming it was called, that he has running back. So I need you to crash down hard, especially when that tackle is going down. You actually have a down block read. So he's down blocking. That means you're coming off that edge and you have the running back. Now, whoever that was at linebacker, they were supposed to be filling on the outside, replacing. In defense, you always have to make sure that someone is being replaced, especially when you're talking about gaps or when you're talking about stunts and things like that. So you see Brandon Graham coming down real hard. He obviously has the running back. we didn't see the linebacker, whoever that was playing linebacker, was probably supposed to come to the outside or bend to the outside and take the quarterback, be right there for the quarterback, and you're supposed to have a safety screaming down. You're supposed to have all these things. The corner, I can't remember if there was a cornerback on the outside with the receiver, but making sure that when you're blocking or you're getting blocked, make sure that that quarterback or that receiver that's guarding you or blocking you, force him to your inside. Make everything get forced on the inside. This means you play outside leverage. Make sure that Daniel Jones go inside, but obviously we didn't see anyone there. But I know what play he's talking about.
Miss a tackle. Some of them have been, tough plays for plays based on the scheme. So just like anything else, it's just a battle. The team has success with something, so you're going to see more of it. And for us to be a good run defense, we have to put that fire out. And, it's going to take a lot of work over the next 8 games to do that.
He still didn't ask what you did in the bye week.
More, so we'll wrap it up with 10 last and then ahead.
Jim, Brandon Graham seems like he's been an important energy source for you guys. Always talking on the field, off the field, uplifting guys, that kind of thing. I'm just wondering how important that has been for your group, and if there's any example that comes to mind of Brandon Graham on game day, his persona.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is he always keeps his energy up on the field, on the sideline, during practice, during the breakfast line. He's the guy that just embraces every part of this thing.
You always got to have a Brandon Graham. Every team got a Brandon Graham on.
He's always excited about the next challenge, enjoys practice, enjoys meetings. So it's not just what you're seeing on Sunday from him. It's what you see. It's just him in his daily life.
Teammate.
How you do something is how you do everything.
I want to do an interview with Brandon Graham one day.
That's the way BG handles it, and he's an important leader for us. He's got a lot of experience. He's seen a lot of things. He knows how to persevere through hard times. And that's a great example to a lot of the younger players. And just looking back and just the climate of NFL in general now, people are so quick to judge players whether they're successful or not. And I know BG was tagged early, as not being a successful draft pick and things like that. He was able to persevere through that and gone on to have a very successful career.
So does that mean Derek Barnett could have the same exact impact?
At age 32. All that doesn't happen by accident. It happens because he has a passion for the game, and he's enthusiastic, and he has the experience of seeing tough times and has that perspective. And I think that's an important lesson for all our guys.
Correct.
One thing we got to understand is BG is probably the captain of the team. If not the captain of the team, the captain of the defense. I know a lot of us expect Fletcher Cox because he's the big man anchoring in the middle. Fletcher Cox doesn't come off as kind of that outward in front of everybody kind of leader. Hey, everybody, put it on my shoulders and let's go. He does it more with his play or whatever that looks like. But BG, he's the one that's in charge of getting all the defense together, making sure they're always staying positive and optimistic. Making sure that they're always pushing, making sure that they're always doing what they need to do in order to at least come out of this game by the skin of your teeth. A win is a win. I've always seen BG as someone like that, and we need more players to kind of step up. You know who I'm looking for that player to step up when the BGs are gone and things like that is Kavon Wallace. Kavon Wallace to me is a dog. He has that dog mentality. Don't you miss having the dog mentality that Brian Dawkins, Michael Lewis, Troy Vincent, Bobby Taylor? I'm talking about Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown, Jeremiah Trotter, Nate Wayne, Dahane Jones, the freak Javon Kerr. You had all of these players who just had a dog mentality. I think Kavon Wallace will be that dog mentality kind of player, and hopefully that just goes along with everybody else.
Hey Jim, that Giants game a few weeks ago, other than the 80-yard quarterback run, what did you see that they did? What did you see that they did that you need to be concerned about this week? What did you think they did effectively against you?
Well, they have have a lot of playmakers. They had just got Sterling Shepard back, and he's
Darius Slayton scares me, man.
A bigger part of their game plan over these last couple of weeks. He's even gotten some slots in the slot, had some snaps in the slot, which is sort of his old homeland in there. Their tight end is a good player, makes a lot of plays on jet sweeps and, trying to scheme ways to get the ball to him. And their run game has become, lose a guy like Saquon Barkley, it's hard to replace him with just one person. So they've introduced a whole lot more zone read concepts. And, I think all those are challenges for us. Slayton is a guy that can break the game open. He's a guy that can make big plays. We did a good job against him last time, keeping him from having a big impact in the game. We'd have to do the same thing as the experienced offensive line. I think that there's a lot of things that have our attention this week.
We'll wrap it up with that.
Hey Jim, just to follow up on that, maybe you've already answered this a little bit, but how different does this Giants offense look from just 3 weeks ago? You mentioned the run game; they're getting Gallman and Morris more carries. Yesterday, I think Jones targeted 11 different players, 10 different players caught passes. Does this offense look any different? Has it evolved, and is it kind of picking up on what Joe Judge is teaching now in his first year? Excuse me.
I do think it's evolving. They struggled early in the season, mainly because of turnovers. They've done a little better job
because of Danny
Dimes the
last
few weeks. And those, turnovers are such a huge thing in a game. So they've done a little better job of taking care of the ball. They've changed their run game just a little bit. It's easy just to hand the ball to Saquon Barkley deep and let him pick his hole. But you have to manufacture.
Dang, I wanted Saquon.
Done a good job of manufacturing.
If we got Miles Sanders, he's better than Saquon.
Got some guys back from injury. There's a newsflash. Get some good players back on the field, and
let's go.
It'll be a little bit more effective. I think a lot of it also, they did miss Hernandez the last week because of COVID, but they got a rookie playing left tackle who's a high draft pick, and they got some experience. A guy like Zeitler. They have a good, solid offensive line. It's going to be a great challenge. NFC East games always are. Throw the records out, all those cliches. We're 8-game season right now, and even though we have a slight edge in the NFC East, it's not a huge edge.
No, it's not.
How the season goes will be dependent on how these last 8 games go, particularly the division games.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, everybody.
Well, there you have it. Jim Swartz, he's always going to be someone who's very politically correct. Be looking forward for more reactions, especially from Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz. Those are the ones that we really want to hold more of what's happening this season, them accountable for. They are accountable for a lot of that stuff. If you are new, like, share, and please subscribe. We have some great things coming for you guys. We got reaction videos. Former NFL players are going to be coming and talking on my new podcast, the Jacko podcast, and there's going to be a whole lot of things that I got in store for you guys. So please like, share, and subscribe if you're new. With that being said, Jacko signing out.